We all carry this divinity inside and this seed of divinity, and which is why when we actually know who we truly are as the I am, as the awareness of being, then we can actually not just create everything we desire, but we can actually have our promise fulfilled, which is to return to this God state, to return to the kingdom of heaven, which is always within us. Hi guys, it is a beautiful day here in Ireland, and so I decided to record that video that I was promising to you on Neville Goddard's teachings and his book At Your Command, which he wrote in 1939. But first I would like to introduce you a little bit more to Neville Goddard himself and his life shortly. So he was actually one of 10 kids from the family, which was kind of pretty poor, and they lived in the small island Barbados. Later in his life, he went to study in New York City and was very interested in entertainment industry like dancing and acting. And he actually was studying it for a while, but then he got introduced to metaphysical teachings by a Scottish metaphysicist at the time. He kind of didn't jump on board with deeper spirituality, though until later, when he actually met Ethiopian mystic Abdul, and actually that mystic started teaching him about esoteric Christianity and also about what we know now as his writings that he actually kind of took over from Abdullah. What I wanted to say before I go into the book itself is that he in his work has two kind of main periods. One would be called the law, and the other later one is called the promise. So in this first period of his writings, and by the way, he wrote 10 books like I mentioned previously, and also had more than 300 lectures, 150 audio lectures, and even a vinyl record made. So the first phase was actually called the law, in which he talks about how everything that we can imagine we can actually be, do, or have, and which he bases on the fact that we are consciousness itself, which creates the reality that we see. The later phase is, so the first phase is more kind of like law of attraction based, in a sense that it's more kind of based on how to have your desires met as a person and as someone who wants to live his kind of optimal life. But in a later phase, which stems from I think 1959, he actually goes much deeper into who we really are, as not as a person but as the I am, which he calls the awareness of being, or God, or universe, or our true nature, as a part of God. So he then, that's why he says it's a promise, because he says like we all have our divinity inside of ourselves. And there is an analogy with the tree, which is planted, like the seed is planted from the tree, stems from the seed, and then the tree bears fruit, and in that same fruit we have the same seed that actually created the tree in the first place. So that's a good analogy of what he talks about in his later days, where he says like we all carry this divinity inside and this seed of divinity, and which is why when we actually know who we truly are as the I am, as the awareness of being, then we can actually not just create everything we desire, but we can actually have our promise fulfilled, which is to return to this God state, to return to the kingdom of heaven, which is always within us. Anyway, so I'm now gonna talk about his first book, At Your Command, which he wrote in 1939. So in this book, he's actually talking about how we as consciousness can decree a thing and it shall come to pass. So everything that we are at the present moment and everything that we see in our world actually stems from our own state of consciousness, state of being, which is a God appearing, like I said in the last video, we are one appearing as many, which means we are God appearing as many personalities and as many different forms of that God. So by knowing that, we can actually raise our state of consciousness or shift our state of consciousness from our present conditions, which is actually only a magnifying mirror of our previous state of consciousness. So everything we see in our world and experience is actually mirroring our state of consciousness. So he says if we kind of shift our focus from what we actually see to what we actually want to see and want to experience, then we can completely change our reality and our daily lives. He also talks in this book about how man is always out-picturing in this world what he is conscious of being. So if a man is actually conscious of being poor, he will actually be poor. If he's conscious of being rich, he's going to be rich. So that's why he said, like, you have to first forgive yourself for everything that you see and for everything that you experience. And also you have to forgive others, because if you believe that yourself, same as with others, are actually those kind of creative expressions of God, then others are the same as you. So nobody is higher or lower than anyone else. The only thing that matters is your state of consciousness. And so everyone's state of consciousness is actually creating their own reality and their own experience in this world. So first you have to forgive yourself for your limiting perceptions, and then you have to forgive others for their limiting perceptions as well, and you have to see them as this limitless potential in terms of creativity, because even like his definition of God is that God is actually imagination. Of course, God is love, because that's kind of the highest expression of God. But God is actually each state of consciousness, because God is kind of playing with different expressions and different energies. And so if you as God's creation is aware of that, then if you are aware of that, then you can play equally, and you can be that part of God. He also says we are, as creations, are actually always going to be lower than Creator itself, but we in ourselves have the Creator. So Creator is always bigger than his creations, but at the same time, if we find it within us, this spark of God, then we can. And if we go from this type of identity, then we can use it to actually change and optimize our life experience. There are a lot of different interesting quotes in his book, At Your Command, but what I can sum it up with is basically what I said. It's like once you know your true potential as your imaginative power, which is kind of God within you, then you can consciously create your life. And a lot of New Age schools talk about, law of attraction and secret. But I think, what differentiates Neville Goddard from all these teachings is that he actually was coming from a deeper sense of experience of God, and not just telling people how to, buy a new car or how to have a new house. Even if this is included in this imaginative act, but he's talking about how to actually tap into your creative potential, into your divinity, and into your godly gift that all of us are equally carrying within ourselves, and how to actually see this world as only a projection of your own state of consciousness. And so he says, like, if you raise your state of consciousness, that's the only thing you have to do in order to change your life. Because if you want to fight the mirror, and which is kind of similar as reality transurfing that I was presenting in one of my other courses, then you will always fight with the mirror. You cannot change anything unless you actually change your state of consciousness. I would actually like to finish this video with saying that there will be a lot more of these teachings coming up from me. I would try to share his message and his teachings, and in a lot of his books he's actually repeating the same things. One other thing I forgot to say is that he talks about the Bible as well, which is why he's considered like a esoteric Christian in a sense. So he talks about the Bible not in a classical sense, but in a sense that Bible is actually a psychological drama that is playing in our very consciousness, and by interpreting it in the right way, we can actually again get the signs, how to tap into our divinity and into our God-given birthright power. Anyway, I hope you understood at least some of the things that I wanted to convey, and I'm so looking forward to these videos, because this is only the beginning. I'm preparing a lot more, hopefully from these nice countryside type of areas around Ireland, which is kind of adding another dimension to it, because I was always a lover of nature, and I think nature is actually, where God can be felt the most. So I'm trying to combine the two, and hopefully it will work. Anyway, if you're interested in following my videos, stay tuned. I'm also a life coach and mindset and awareness coach, so you can contact me for my coaching sessions as well. I'm gonna put the link in my Facebook business page in the description box below. Until the next time, hopefully soon, take care and dream in color and dream big. Bye.